those are the two, I guess, if the other person is.
Hello there, how are you? Good to see you.
Hey, Reverend, how are you? Good to see you.
Young man. Young man.
There's a public comment period. Okay, and I've got these paperclip in order. This is 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, so we don't have
So they're
anything
in
on
order.
two and three. We have something
Yeah,
speaking for it. And then Al Bedmanshaw wants to talk about the budget, sir.
yeah,
Whatever.
yeah.
Right.
I like how she's got y'all paperclip
I
together
liked it.
this
I
time.
liked it. Yeah, that's much better.
Hey, Betty, Wasteboro picked up my trash right before I left this meeting. You seen the city pictures of it?
Yeah, they're out doing some work to
They don't
learn.
even have one of these trucks left. They've got two guys actually. It's back to old days. They're walking around behind it, dumping stuff.
No, yeah.
Wonderful.
You ready? Good evening. How's everyone doing tonight? All right. Well, we will come to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance and moment of silence. I pledge
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Before we go any further, do we have any scouts here tonight by any chance? Or youth council? All right, I guess with school tomorrow being the last day, we sort of move on with that, huh? Okay, from council, I need approval of the minutes from April 18th, May 9th, and May 11th.
So moved.
Second, Mayor.
Motion is second. All in favor, raise your hand. Thank you. We have three presentations tonight. We're going to start with the presentation proclamation recognizing June 19th, 25 as National Pollinator Week. Juliana Chavez, can you come forward? I'm going to step down with you there. So before I read the proclamation, can you tell us a little bit about what's going on in this?
Yeah, I don't mind. So June 19th through the 25th is National Pollinator Week. And if you don't know, the city of Concord is a Mayor's Monarch Pledge city. So every year we redo our pledge to support pollinators and support monarch habitat. And so we do a lot here in the city of Concord to help promote pollinator species and make sure that they're thriving because they are in a decline, especially monarchs, since about 25 years ago, just due to habitat loss and pesticides and things like that. So that's why we're celebrating this week, to bring attention to pollinator species, especially monarchs.
All right, well, let me go ahead and read the proclamation if I could. Whereas the city of Concord is home to many native wildlife and pollinator species, such as birds, bees, insects, and keep our environment healthy and biodiverse. And whereas the city of Concord recognizes human health ultimately depends on well-functioning ecosystems, and that biodiverse regions can be better support food production, healthy soil, air quality, and can foster healthy connections between humans and wildlife. Whereas the city of Concord is working to build a healthy, sustainable, wildlife-friendly community, which brings many of the benefits of nature to all corners of our community. And whereas the urban communities, pollinators play a critical role in the maintaining sustainability, urban agriculture, and local community gardens. Whereas pollinator species are in decline due to the habitat loss and the use of pesticides, causing species like the monarch butterfly to decline significantly in the past 25 years. Whereas the National Pollinators Week is a national initiative that offers opportunities for individual communities to help restore native habitat, support local pollinator species, and whereas the City of Concord will continue to support local, state, and national efforts that protect, restore, and conserve habitat for pollinators, as well as foster greater connection between residents and wildlife. Now, therefore, I, William C. Dush, Mayor of the City of Concord, on behalf of City Council of the City of Concord, do hereby proclaim June 19th through 25th, 2023 as National Pollinators Week in the City of Concord. So, thank you. And I will present that. I was hoping that Ruth Brooks would be here tonight. I have a proclamation for Ruth Brooks. Ruth Brooks is one of our citizens who's been very involved in many parts of our community. And for all the years that she's been working, we just wanted to recognize her, and I will track her down to make sure that I can present this to her personally. But I'd like to go ahead and read it for the record if I could. Whereas Reverend Willie Ruth Brooks was born December 26, 1945 in Fayetteville, North Carolina to Mary Monroe and Willie Brooks. And whereas Reverend Brooks attended Bladen Central High School and furthered her studies at Barbara Scotia College, graduating in 1969 and joining the Marines in 1971, where she was the 8th woman to join the Marine Corps and the first woman to go into the Corps as a dispersing officer. Whereas Reverend Brooks was employed as an educator for many years in the Cabarrus County school system and has been contributed over 3 decades to the community service and Multicultural Student Union. Whereas the Multicultural Student Union Club originated at Northwest Cabarrus High School in the late 1980s, and later in 1992, several students went to Ruth Brooks and asked if she could start a choir. The choir formation was approved, and the theme song was Hold Up the Light. Whereas over the years, the after-school program, summer enrichment program, the mime, and other marching bands have been established. Ruth Brooks is dedicated to the Multicultural Student Union and loves each person as family. Whereas Ruth Brooks is a motivator, but also a disciplinarian. She can get you straight with just a look. I know that look. Clearing her throat, and her faith in God, love of family, enormous heart for the community keeps her going even when she should be resting. Her example in leadership and community involvement has caused a great number of her former students and choir members to pursue teaching and business careers and to become involved in our community. And where Ruth Brooks has 1 son, Tim, and 3 grandchildren, I therefore now, William C. Dush, Mayor of the City of Concord, on behalf of City Council, would like to thank Reverend Willie Ruth Brooks for being such a positive light in our community and showing others how to utilize their talents and discover their purpose. She's an amazing woman, and I just can't say enough about her. I worked with her for years on things, and I will track her down. Don't worry.
Also, she's a honored member of the North Carolina Military Veterans Hall of Fame as well. I think the 2020 class, so that's a great honor for her as well.
Yes, it is. But many things she's done for our community and continues to do it. I'd like to, we have Juneteenth coming up, and it's a very important event for all of us. Betty, tell us about the event going on the 24th.
On the 24th of June, Saturday, from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. at Caldwell Park, there will be a Juneteenth festival. It is supported by the City of Concord and many other organizations, including the Logan Community Association. And it's really a good way to bring cultural and community together. So if you don't have anything to do on that day, come out and celebrate, walk through, and enjoy the day. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and this will also be presented at the event. Our Mayor Pro Tem will be handling that since I'll be at our sister city. You got it. Yeah, I know, you'll make it. I know how you do it. So I'd like to go ahead and enter this on the record. Whereas June 19th, 1865 is considered the date that the last enslaved Americans were notified of their new legal status and free status by the General Gordon Granger, who arrived in Galveston, Texas after the Civil War and issued the General Order Number 3 almost 2.5 years after President Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation. Whereas former slaves in Texas began to observe June 19th as the anniversary of their emancipation and coined the term Juneteenth, as known as the National Freedom Day. Sadly, the news of freedom was withheld by some of the masters so they could work their slaves through the harvest season and reap more wages. And when they were free, they were killed. And whereas Juneteenth is the oldest nationally celebrated commemoration of the ending of slavery in the United States, and whereas Juneteenth commemorates the survival due to the God-given strength and determination of the African American through extreme adversity, hardship, and triumph, and whereas on the anniversary each year, organizations and individuals throughout North Carolina and our nation celebrate African American heritage, history, freedom, and culture. Now, therefore, I, William C. Dush, Mayor of Concord, on behalf of the City Council of the City of Concord, do hereby proclaim June 19th, 2023 as Juneteenth Day in the City of Concord. So, thank you. Yes, go ahead. I was just informed that Ruth has taken a fall in the last several days, and that's the reason she can't make it today. I will find her. All right, before we go any further, the next one is new business and department reports. So, Lloyd?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Call on Kaylee to come forward. She's going to provide the streetscape update to council this evening.
Mayor, members of council, Mr. Payne, Ms. Kolchinsky, I will present about the streetscape and get started with the construction update. So since we met last month, crews have continued to work on the storm drainage from Barbrick Avenue towards the mid-block, which is what you see here on the right image. And they've also installed new 8-inch sewer services as they've sort of come across those with the stormwater work. They have prepped and tested the new water main on Union Street and are currently working on the main water line in the Corbin Avenue intersection. So this is night and weekend work that's been occurring this week. They've started at 7 p.m. and continued through until 6 a.m. And that's why you're not seeing much activity or any activity in the work zone during the day since they're working in the evenings. But they do anticipate finishing that work Monday. And so following that, they will start working on installing the new water services on Union Street, beginning at Corbin and working toward the mid-block. They will also work on the storm drainage on the west side of Union Street, so the Barbrick side. As you see in the picture, they've worked on the courthouse side, and they'll move over to the opposite side of the road. So these are also some additional construction images taken this week of the night work. The first one is when they were doing the compact testing in the trench. The second is showing them putting in that new water line. And then the third is just continuation of that water line work. So something to point out with our drone images that we have, after they do this work, the trenches are still open. So during the day, they have these plates in place. They're doing that every night at the end of the work, and you can kind of see it at the bottom here on the drone image. And then, of course, the streetscape construction zone. Thought we'd show a nice shot of the courthouse since they recently had the ribbon cutting ceremony, but also showing that storm drain trench that you can kind of still see there on Union Street. And finally, the three Novi projects, as well as the streetscape work, just showing the progress. Novi Flats recently had its first tenants move in, and I believe they've topped out this elevator and stairwell shaft. So what you see is kind of the height of the building, and they're still working on the second one for Novi Lofts. Construction sequence, I'm not going to read through all of this, but just to give you guys a big picture, I know we really haven't had one the past couple months that I've given an update. So this is the best that we know now. The contractor has had to sort of rework their approach, and they've added a little bit more work to the current work zone to do now versus later. So it was still work that was always in the project. They're just deciding to handle it before moving the construction zone. So that includes conduit for electrical and fiber, some of the grading so that they can put in the new curbs and base asphalt before moving the fence, and that's in addition to the storm drainage and water lines. And so when they move the fence, I've already sort of presented this, but they're going to overlap a little bit of the section that's currently within the work zone, and then they'll continue their work from the mid-block towards Cabarrus Avenue. We anticipate they'll do the same thing with the Cabarrus Avenue intersection as they're doing now with Corbin. Night and weekend work, keeping construction or traffic open with traffic control measures in place. And then they'll move to sort of the final part of round one, they're calling the infrastructure work, between Killarney and Cabarrus Avenue. This will impact the driveways, the access for the library and Truist. We're working on a plan so that they can come in through Grove to still have access to their parking lots. And then round two is more of the surface level streetscape starting summer of next year and working again from Corbin up to Killarney in those same sections. So this is going to be the sidewalk finishing, the brick pavers, landscaping beds, soil cells, and light poles. And once they get through that, they'll come back and do all of the finishing touches with the final asphalt layer, road striping, installation of landscaping and trees and furnishing. And we'll continue to keep you updated as we have better dates on those. So this is something new. I wanted to show you guys the IntelliStreets lighting system. I know you saw this picture a few months ago when they were first installed in the county plaza, and I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of an overview of how the system works. So we can log in just on our desktop and get into the system to control the lights. This will be for the mosaic poles in the county plaza, but also for the streetscape poles. So it's kind of neat that we've been able to see this system and how it works before our streetscape is really up and running. High level, right now, this panel, you're controlling all of the lights, but we will be able to have them in different districts. So District A is the mosaic poles. There will be a continuation of different districts once the streetscape poles are in place. So we have control over the RGBA notification light color. That's this top light we refer to as the beacon. Our poles will look different. There will still be a beacon light. It'll just be in a slightly different location. And that just changes between green, blue, amber, and red. It can also be turned off if you just don't want it there. And then floodlights, this is when I've referred to the full spectrum color. So the floodlight on the mosaic is the light here, and that can be any hex code that we put in. We can really change it and program it for whatever we want. And then scheduling. So this can all be scheduled and set up in advance using any date, time, just adding an event. It will get pretty complicated, but right now we just have those mosaic poles in the plaza, and those come on with sunset and turn off with sunrise. Going to the map, so there's a 3D view of downtown showing where the light poles are, satellite image. Obviously, once the images get updated, it'll be really easy to actually see the light pole that you're controlling. So same thing as what I just showed you, except we can actually select a specific light pole and change it to a different color, again, for the beacon and for this full spectrum floodlight. We can also turn audio off, so there's a lot of flexibility within the system. and a lot of different reasons why we might need that flexibility. For example, if the hotel has a wedding going on, they don't want the music near the hotel being loud, we could mute all of those poles. It's just an example. And then going to audio, the IntelliStreet system has a lot of music already built into it that is licensed for us to play through the system, and those are all built into the polls. They've already set up a Christmas and a Halloween playlist as well as the non-seasonal, so we can set up our own playlists, and it just switched over, but now you're seeing the Christmas playlist and some of that music. We can also do announcements, so we can do pre-recorded announcements, put those in, say you want to advertise the 5K coming up on the weekend, you could have that played throughout, within the music. And finally, I'll touch on the cameras. So the plaza has one camera in place. The streetscape will include 3 more. So this is the first page you see, and it shows just a map of where it is, and then you can see the camera views. There are 2 180-degree cameras in place, and so you get a 360-degree view. Once we have all the others, you'll be able to go to next and kind of scroll through them. But you can also go to management, where you see a much larger view that can be increased. This is compatible so that traffic, police, everyone can kind of be able to use these cameras to see downtown. Currently, we're connected to fiber. Or sorry, not fiber, we're connected to 4G because we don't have the fiber in place with the streetscape. So we were able to get that figured out so that we would be able to use the poles before the streetscape's done. And if you were walking around downtown last night at about 9:40, I tested it out to take a snapshot to show you guys. So I turned from my house, I was able to turn the color of the pole to green and the beacon to red very briefly, took this quick image and then turned it back to the white default lighting. And that's all for the lights. I know that was a lot. So back to our usual updates on the downtown website, a couple changes for parking. Barbrick has been opened back up between Market and Spring, so the map now reflects that, as well as the parallel parking spaces that are available. And we had a tenant or a merchant come in and talk to me and requested that we add 2 different pinpoints for entrances to the county parking deck. So there aren't address points for Corbin versus Spring for which interest you're going to, but on Google you can kind of just drop a pin wherever you're wanting to lead and have those links. And so we've done that on the website now as well, which is highlighted down here. Another response to a merchant request was more of a directory style signage. So when you're coming down Union Street from Cabarrus and you have the Novi Lofts fencing, it's a little confusing because you have that construction fencing, you have our construction fencing. So we're going to add these directory signs. They have been ordered, we're just waiting for those to come in so that we can install them. We'll put those on both sides, and then as you can see, the list kind of shows the order of the businesses that you're coming across on each side. We'll also put them on the construction fencing too. So that's the 2 designs that you're seeing here. Social Saturday, we had a great turnout on May 20th when we had the event and have gotten good feedback. And there's another event for June 17th that Paige and Sheree are working on putting together. They're suggesting different ways the businesses can get involved, and that includes the bulleted list here. So communicate their promotions with the downtown team so that they can then share it. Telling restaurants to bring menus down for takeout orders, offering the merchants to come meet with the community, bring coupons, discounts, anything to kind of help get people from the street and into the door. And then also offering them a chance to speak to the audience between music breaks. So as long as they connect with Sheree, she can get that scheduled and get that going. They're also adding yard games to the next event. So in addition to having all the tables and chairs and places to sit, if you want to play games while listening to the music, that will be available. Activating downtown through events, so similar to last month, the first Friday. I believe I had it written down, but July 7th, I think, is the first Friday coming up. We just had one last week. And then Social Saturday, also Art Walk on Union will be June 24th. It'll be in the same area we were planning for April, since we haven't moved the construction fencing yet. Christmas in July is scheduled for July 15th. That's more of a retail-based event. But we will be able to play the Christmas music through the mosaic poles, so we're going to plan on doing that through the day. And then a construction-themed scavenger hunt is in the works for September. I have some examples. The promotional items came in. So these bags that you're seeing will be handed out to the businesses, starting with the Social Saturday in June. And then we also have these flyers / fans, streetscape with their little bag to store it in. So these will be handed out more for like art walk and events where we might have a booth set up to talk to people about all the things that are happening in downtown. Continuing social media promotions with Instagram, focusing pretty heavily on more video content, as well as continuing the Friday feature behind the business for that. And then lots of merchant communications. So the merchant newsletter goes out, and we have a meeting coming up on June 19th to give an update. We're also adding a virtual option. So we'll be meeting in person every other month starting this month, and we'll be doing a virtual option in between. And we'll also do the virtual option sort of in the afternoon, again on Mondays, but trying to capture people that maybe can't make it on Monday mornings. And let's see, direct emails as things come up. I know when one went out about the night work that's happening on Corbin right now, and one-on-one meetings. So, downtown teams, their doors are always open to meet if anyone has questions. And then the Queen City Hometown Tour. So this was the final stop on the spring 2023 hometown tour that Queen City did. It was live on air from 5 to 6. Mayor Dush was interviewed in front of the historic courthouse and gave a brief overview of the streetscape. They showed some aerial images during that interview, and then the basement arcade was also featured in its own piece. And I'm getting to the end here. So finally, we're seeing projects come to completion. So two are the addition to the courthouse. I'll add that the renovation of the 1975 courthouse is still going to happen, but the addition was complete and had the ribbon cutting on the 31st, and tours were also available. And then the Novi Flats has their grand opening scheduled for June 15th, and as I mentioned, they already had some of their tenants move in. And that's all. If you guys have any questions or comments.
Question from council.
Just real quick, it goes without saying, I assume, but that new schedule with the phasing in of the streetscape is on our website, I'd assume, so
Yes,
correct?
those
So everybody can
exact
see it.
slides are on the website right now.
Thank you.
Yes.
Who did this mural? Where?
Caswell Turner.
Oh,
Cicada
good.
Studios.
Okay.
So we
Where
have-
is that? Is
What's
it
that?
displayed anywhere?
It's in our planning conference room.
Oh, it's very nice,
But
Caswell.
yeah.
Look good on the side of the building, too.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, and keep communicating as much as you can. It's trying to touch everybody to make sure they see all these things that we're doing, try to get us through the other side. All right. Next, we are going to have recognitions of persons requesting to be heard, and let me read our statement of that. Our time to recognize persons to be heard on the agenda is an opportunity to hear from anyone wishing to speak. This is a time for listening by council. The subject will be noted, and if required action or requests, the city manager will note as such and provide steps for any required response or after action. Please leave your contact details with the city clerk to facilitate communications. Now, I have 3 individuals that have signed up to speak. If you want to speak, you need to come forward and sign up. And I'm going to start off with Arkevius Armstrong. How are you today? Good. And you will have three minutes.
3 minutes, I'm gonna put my stop clock on because I can go.
Oh, Charlie has that
Oh,
going.
Charlie got it.
Yeah.
Well, listen here. Let me stop it then.
Thank you.
First and foremost, I want to just thank Mayor, members of council, Mr. Payne, Mrs., I want to make sure I say this, Koszkinski? I almost got you, didn't I? I almost got it. Thank you. Also to the city attorney, Mrs. Deason. We are a organization that started from out of Charlotte, North Carolina back in 2013. We are now presenting our programs and services to Cabarrus County and Concord. Our program focuses on young males to ages 12 to 17 years old, and we've worked with people from different backgrounds, different issues. Some of our young men come from single-parent households, and some of the things that we had to deal with are some of the things that fathers are more absent, and when we have fathers absent in the house, we have more problems in the community. It's a proven fact. We've broke programs in 3 different counties: Rock Hill, South Carolina, Gaston County, Mecklenburg County, now Cabarrus County. I want to just take a few seconds to give acknowledgement to Park and Rec. The staff at Park and Rec have been extremely supportive over the programs that we brought to Concord by opening up their doors, allowing the programs and activities to be presented to the community. And again, I just want to just thank people like Tyler, you know I'm bad with names. But him and his amazing staff, and now we're presenting a summer camp in the Logan community. And I want to just take a few seconds to give acknowledgement to the director at the Housing Authority, who also opened up their doors to the programs. And these people who have saw the work, saw the impact, and saw the influence that these services that we provide. So I just want to just give you a little backstory about our program. We focus on personal development, social development, abuse and drug awareness, academic enrichment, where we provide tutoring and mentors as well. Business and trades, where we got some connections and some friendships with some people who we work with over the years, who bring that component to where most young people who probably don't want to go to college, but it's always important to harness a skill. Conflict resolution, interpersonal skills, drug awareness, and career readiness. Our program have been around since, it's going on 10 years. This year marked 10 years. And we have been effective, we've been consistent, and we've been adamant about continuing to put these programs in the community. My approach today is just, again, just to let you guys know who I am, and let you know the services that we're going to be providing, and we'll love the support with you guys to get behind it. And if there's any way possible that we can find out what is needed in the community. Again, we're not trying to change nothing. We're just trying to add value to what's already here in the Concord community, especially with the Logan community, with the people who's already doing the work. I guess that's my key, isn't it? That's my key?
That is
I
your
think
key.
he started me at
but-
2
but-
minutes.
But can I ask you one question?
Yes, sir.
Are you a 501c3?
Again, yes, sir, we are a 501c3.
In good standing?
Yes, sir, we are. We are.
You need to come to see me after the meeting.
We supposed to have a met last year too, Mr. Howie Marathi.
Yeah, I know, yeah, but it's time, it's time again to meet me.
Gotcha,
Okay.
gotcha.
Got some ideas.
My time up.
Your time's up.
All right.
Thank you very much. Okay. All right, Al Benshoff. Hello, Al.
Hello, Mayor, council members, attorney, Madam Clerk. It's good to see you. Thank you for the time. Thank you for the 3 minutes to tell you what's on my mind. And I don't have a complaint. I'm here to tell you that I'm a happy citizen, that I get excellent services for my tax dollar. My taxes are reasonable. If anything, they're low. I'm not asking you to raise taxes, but I am pointing out that I get really good value for my tax dollar. Not so from other levels of government, but that's another story. I want to say that I appear at 6 to 8 local government board meetings a month, and I want to congratulate you for still dressing up for the board meeting, because the board meetings that I attend, the board members typically show up in shorts and t-shirts. I'm the only person in the room with a tie on and a jacket. And I would have worn a tie tonight had I known that you still followed the old-fashioned dress code. I want to tell you that my services have gotten much better since 2014. I don't know if there's a correlation with the date of my retirement and the improvement in services. There may be, but that is a fact. And I want to say, keep up the good work. Thank you very much, and I'll be back for the budget.
Thank you, Al. Bishop Jordan, welcome.
Come you in Jesus' name, Mr. Mayor. And all my brothers and sisters on the board, I don't miss nobody's name. I got a little bit of dementia, so bear with me. But I won't take Ms. Ruth Brooks. Ms. Ruth, she taught me how to use a computer. You know, that was a blessing. We're not standing for Juneteenth, them were my people back in slavery. They have some white people too back there. But I'm proud my people got freed. They would have got freed early if I was there. No block, I believe. But anyway, thank you for you doing a good job in the city of Concord. I'm here tonight for the police because I wanted to be a police one time. I was a special police in the military just for 30 days. You know, I didn't take it because I couldn't read all that good, you know, but I got a lot of wisdom now from God. When I read in the paper and seen on TV that your police officer got suspended for, took his pay for a whole week. That's a hard punishment when a man got kids. That bring him back. That's a setup for the devil. Praise God. But I'll let you know, police is very important to us. And I thank God we got one in our community, need one on my street. It make people be safe. Don't have to worry about carrying guns and stuff, you know, very important, you know, but take under consideration when you punish your police. I heard the man was 15 years, no trouble. That's excellent. What I would have did for him, talk to him and say, hey, my brother, I know something might have been on your mind, but that's very important not to pass the school bus. But you're a police officer, you know, the bus driver should be looking too, blow the horn. But that's no excuse, but anyway, that's where I feel. And I believe in bringing out what I feel. Bible Scotia College, you got a task force. It's time for you to start doing something for us, praise God. Still the roundabout on Spring Street and Tournament. Still need to be something done. I ain't gonna stop speaking, but y'all do something about it. I have flattened one of my tires, and tires is high. Light and Water had one of my members turn off the power, turn back on the same day. I think for 5 months, paid straight, you know, something happened in the system. But I'm giving Ms. Pat and talk to her about that. But be concerned about our people, especially my black people, when you turn off the power because they got kids, and a lot of kids. Please be aware of that. I speak up for it, praise God. And we thank Brother A.J. Clark, what he do for Bible Scotia. I see him do a lot of work there. I got a little illness now. I can't do too much, but I do what I can. Praise God. And I'm not a part of the Juneteenth committee, but I'm an active member of local committee. Anything going on in the local committee, I'm gonna be a part of it. That's me. I take care of my people, as well as white people too, Mexican too. But when you cross my line, Pastor Jordan, come look out. Thank you.
Thank you. Robert Neal, welcome.
Hard to actually follow, but anyway, I'm gonna come up with it. I'm speaking behind Brother Rowland. Today is May is my 50-year anniversary. What I mean by that is, I'm a 50-year-old being there. I gave my life for all of y'all. I was deeply hurt this weekend because I went to the Kannapolis Cannonball game, and it was Veteran Appreciation Day. And I talked to somebody on the council. We talked already. I told them to present this. And I go up in the rain. I go to get my ticket, free ticket. I thought, just like, but all of a sudden, they say $13. The ticket, I said, yes, okay. So you only get $1 off. I say, you serious? I'm a Vietnam vet, 50th anniversary, and I fought for this country. And I cannot get into nothing free. You know, believe me, nobody has gave the Vietnam vets, which is me and Brother Roland, I know in here, nothing. We have fought for everything that we got. And so I was very insulted because they was gonna give me $1 off for a 13 price ticket. And that night I couldn't sleep. I ain't slept until today. I want to let y'all know, we fought for this country. I am a vet, understand? I fought proudly. I went in at 19 years old. You'll never know what I went through. At 4 years old, I was speaking cotton. At 8 years old, I got saved. At 19 years old, I integrated the school system in 1967. And in 1971, we wasn't able to get the, we're gonna say,
what they was giving black people to go to school, put it like that. You call it a Negro College Fund, I do not call it that. But what I had to do, go to service in my country, and then always come back and get an education. And everything, like I'm saying, like y'all speaking from my heart, we as Vietnam vets, this is our 50th anniversary. I want to get a day for the veterans, Vietnam vets and all war veterans. I'm putting in red day, I'm asking for a day. I'm not going through all this I went through like I did. When I went to service, I got sworn in, and I immediately started fighting. He did too. And I know other people sit back and do that. But take into consideration, we need something done for the 50th anniversary and every year after this for people who fought in the war. And I'm telling like this, it does me proud to see all of y'all up here coming together to work for people like me and Brother Roland and everybody else. But just do the right thing. I mean, that's all I'm saying. And if y'all haven't slept like I did since Saturday night, I thought that was the most insulting thing I ever seen in my life. I have never got nothing since I came back from the war, understand? And so what I'm asking is, we need a day. Oh, we need a week, really. I mean, Juneteenth is coming up, we know that, but I'm trying to say, I want to celebrate the people, all colors, all nationalities, everybody that laid their life down. 200,000 people died in Vietnam. You know, that's a shame. 50,000 people came back. And I was the one who came back. I went by to Leavenworth, Kansas, and I fought in Leavenworth, Kansas, like I fought in the war here. And it's a battle here, and I'm sorry for taking up too much time, but I wanted to get it on. Please, if we got to meet, just go ahead and get a day for the veterans. That's all I'm saying. I'm worth more than $1. I mean, and like I was talking to the gentleman, he said like this, they could have said like this, all veterans get in for $1. It'd have been better than nothing, but that's zero. Appreciate you. Thank you, man.
Thank you, Robert. Okay, we are moving on now to the public hearings. Conduct a public hearing to consider Raftellus Consultants System Development Fee. Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved, Mayor.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor, raise your hand. Thank you very much. All right, Lloyd?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Jessica presented this item to council on Tuesday evening. The system development fee study has been completed, presented to council. So tonight, we offer that to council as a recommendation to adopt those fees as the study put forth, and those will be included, if approved, in the upcoming budget year.
Thank you. I have no one signed up for or against this. Is there anyone like to speak in regards to this? We covered it in our Tuesday meeting, and therefore, I'm asking council to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor, raise your hand. Back to council for recommendation.
I make a motion that we approve the city's water and sewer system development fees as presented in the consultant's fee study.
Okay. We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that, Mayor.
Motion is second. Ready to vote. All in favor, raise your hand. Thank you very much. Item number 2, conduct a public hearing pursuant of NC General Statute 153-9-12. Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved, Mayor.
Second.
Motion is second. Let's have a vote. All in favor, raise your hand. Thank you very much. I have one individual signed up for this proposal, Al Benshaw. Welcome back. It's been a long time.
Thank you, Mayor, Council, Manager, Attorney, Madam Clerk. We all know how the budget works. By the time we get to the public hearing, it's too late to make any changes. But there is no other way to comment on the budget. So I'm going to tell you how you can save some money. I've got two areas where you can save some money or actually enhance your revenue. About saving money, your transportation department has a function that clears the rights of way, cuts trees out of the streets, moves things away. The city has unfettered discretion to do whatever it wants in the public rights of way. Your transportation department has a rule that nothing can shade the curb or the street that is less than 12 feet high. It's not a statute, it's not an ordinance, it's not a manager rule, it's a department rule. The city has the power to do that. Now, in the budget, there is a line item for crossbow herbicide that the transportation department uses to clear the right-of-way. And I know because I worked on that when I was a city attorney. I don't think the transportation department needs crossbow herbicide anymore. I think it should be eliminated from the budget because in my personal experience, the transportation department sprayed crossbow on the edge of my property. It was the right-of-way, but they sprayed it, killed my plants that they felt were injurious to public safety, and then came back and cut out the dead plants, which was nothing if not redundant. They could have done one or the other. If they're going to cut the plants out, which they usually do, they don't need crossbow herbicide. You can enhance your revenues by increasing the fees for applications for certificates of appropriateness, which are required to do work on the exterior of properties in your 3 or 4 historic districts. I've lost count. The fees are very low, and the hearings must be advertised in a newspaper of general circulation in the community. That costs hundreds of dollars every time there's a hearing. And then there's the staff time, the attorney's time. The fees need to be raised to cover your costs. That's not an unreasonable request for people who can afford to live in the historic districts. I apologize for going over time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Al. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak on this item? Okay, Lloyd?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mayor, members of council, I'm honored this evening to present the proposed fiscal year 2023-2024 annual budget for your consideration and adoption. This budget invests in the quality of life for our residents, continues to deliver essential services, supports the city's critical infrastructure, and recognizes the need to recruit and retain dedicated coworkers. Special thanks goes out to Assistant City Managers Derek Blackburn, Josh Smith, and Pam Henson, along with all the department heads and specifically the budget team, Leslie Reeder, Amanda Newton, and Brandon Edwards for their efforts in assisting me over the past 10 months. Each year, Team Concord works together to provide recommendations that will operationalize your priorities. I trust you will find the proposed budget does just that. Budget development for fiscal year 2024 was driven by inflationary cost pressures and changes in our service provisions to meet the needs of growth. Economic changes like higher interest rates, supply chain issues, and increased costs have impacted all levels of our community. Local governments are facing fiscal pressures to afford current needs and services in this environment as well. Like last year, local governments across the state are still experiencing higher than normal sales tax revenues, but the tremendous growth appears to be leveling out just a bit. Our organization is monitoring sales tax revenues to ensure our projections are reliable. For now, staff continue to project with conservative optimism. The overall proposed budget in front of you this evening is $324.5 million across all funds, which is a 7% increase over the current fiscal year budget, 2022-2023. The budget also maintains the tax rate at 48 cents, which has remained unchanged since 2013. For fiscal year 2023-24, the city's total assessed property values are $15.8 billion, an increase of 3.8% over the current fiscal year. In keeping with your city council strategic priorities, this budget continues to set aside $7.128 million, or 4.5 cents of the property tax, as dedicated funding for transportation, affordable housing, and parks and recreation. The equivalent of 2.5 cents, or approximately $3.96 million, is dedicated to transportation for roadway projects. Affordable housing and parks and recreation each receive 1 cent, or $1.58 million in dedicated funding. The Parks and Recreation dedicated funding supports greenway expansion and neighborhood connectivity to reach council's goal of 30 miles of greenway by 2030. Implementing your priorities is made possible through these dedicated tax dollars. This budget continues to meet your goal of maintaining between 30 and 35% of the general fund balance. In addition, it includes recommendations for funding for numerous capital projects to enhance the quality of life for our residents. I'm proposing to utilize $8.02 million from the General Capital Reserve for the construction of a new fleet facility. Additional details on this project and many other projects are contained within the full budget document. No residential or commercial-based rate increases are anticipated for water, stormwater, or wastewater funds, despite a 7.9% increase in our wastewater treatment rates from the Water and Sewer Authority of Cabarrus County. This budget recommends changes to the city's electric rate structure to match the results of a recently completed rates and charges analysis. These changes work together with a reduced purchase power adjustment to better match rates with the cost of providing service. Over the past 5 years, we have invested more than $68 million in our electric system for improvements and operational upgrades, allowing us to provide reliable service now and into the future. Fiscal year 23-24's budget proposes service changes to better match our continued growth with our commitment to provide excellent service to our community. Solid waste began transitioning to a fully in-house model last July with the assumption of bulky waste collection. This July, all solid waste services will be provided by coworkers using a 4-day collection route schedule. This change will create a more prompt and reliable service, reducing both cost and customer complaints. Growth within the city requires an additional yard waste and limb crew. My proposed budget includes an increase to the solid waste fee of 35 cents per month to help cover this increased cost. To keep us proactive in the world's changing technological landscape, Concord will bring information technology, or IT, services in-house. Doing so will allow the city a more customized level of service to match our growing organization. Concord welcomed its first IT director in April of this year and will add 16 new IT staff members in the coming year. This budget will add 1 part-time staff member and 39 full-time employees to meet the needs of our growing city, bringing the total number of authorized positions to 1,260 employees. None of the services the city provides would be possible without the dedicated and talented members of Team Concord. In this historically strong job market, we must compete with regional governments of all sizes for our team members. My goal is to attract and retain the very best employees possible for a diverse workforce that resembles the community we serve. Our ability to do that is vital to the city's success and achieving the high level of customer service we are committed to providing for our community. I am proposing a 3% cost of living increase for all staff, an additional 1 to 4% merit increase based on performance. Team members who complete career development requirements will receive an additional 1.5% increase upon successful completion. I'm also proposing to increase the current 4% 401k contribution for non-sworn law enforcement personnel by 0.5% in the coming year, and plan to do the same in the following year, FY 24-25, to ensure all city employees are receiving the same 5% 401k contribution. This provides a more equitable benefit to all of our city staff. To ensure we remain competitive in our recruitment of new coworkers and retention of existing coworkers, Human Resources will conduct a comprehensive compensation study of all positions in the coming months. In addition, I recognize and appreciate that employee feedback is a valuable resource, and in the coming year, Human Resources will work alongside Dr. Leisha Davis DeHart from the UNC School of Government to learn more about how to keep Concord a premier employer. My proposed budget in front of you this evening provides the resources to meet the needs of our residents in the upcoming fiscal year while also being proactive should changes arise. It positions the city to responsibly handle growth while continuing to provide the high quality of life that distinguishes Concord as one of the best places to live, raise a family, and start a business. We must all work together to meet this goal, and Team Concord strives to do that each day for our citizens and for you. I ask this evening for your consideration and adoption of the proposed fiscal year 2023-2024 budget. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. So I don't have anybody else to speak, so is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved, Mayor.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor, raise your hand. Back to council. Now, we have two votes here going up. First one, I'm going to let you explain the second one first of all.
So I would ask that you proceed exactly the way it's written. The first item for your consideration is to actually adopt the 23-24 budget, or not. That's up to
Okay.
you.
All right. So first is a motion to adopt the budget.
Mayor, I'll make that motion to go ahead and adopt the 23-24 budget.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
And a second. Is there any further discussion?
I just want to congratulate Lloyd and the staff for an exceptionally good budget. I am just very pleased for the city and the citizens for what you have provided and look forward to a very strong year. So congratulations to you.
And Mayor, I'll echo what Councilmember Langford just shared. Budget preparation is no easy task. You know, I know that from what little bit of experience I had during my career, and it requires a lot of meetings, a lot of thought, a lot of input. So thank you, Lloyd. Thank you, staff, for everything, budget team, that you all did to put this budget together. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Just to piggyback on, budgets are perpetual. Tomorrow you'll start on a new one probably. So, and you've done a great job. We've kept our tax base at 48 cents, and that's saying a lot. The services that we provide, we've done a great job. Thank you.
John?
Yeah, not to sound old, this is my 13th, and 10 of those 13, we haven't had a raise in the tax rate. And we've continued to grow and continue to provide the same level of service, if not better. So I'm very proud of the leadership team that we have for City of Concord. Lloyd, your team is phenomenal. They do a lot of extra without going extra towards the citizens in their pocketbooks. So thank you.
I'm not going to be redundant, but I would echo everything my fellow council members said, and thank you to the staff. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you very much. All right, are we ready to vote? All in favor of approving the budget, raise your hand. Thank you very much. That passes. Vote number 2.
And I do understand that we have at least one person who serves on the Arts Council.
2.
2 people. Council is going to need to recuse the 2 people who served on the council. The
I
Arts
move that
Council.
do you need a motion for that? I move that we recuse the 2 board members for the Arts Council for this vote.
Okay, and a second?
Get on out of here.
All right, everybody in favor, raise your hand.
Aye.
Thank you very much. We'll see you guys later.
In just moments.
Yeah, just a moment. Don't go too far. So now I need a motion to approve this part of it dealing with the Arts Council.
The Arts Council portion of the external agencies.
We had a motion and a second. Ready to vote? All in favor, raise your hand. Thank you very much. And
Mayor, we portioned that out just simply because they're on the board of that.
That's correct.
Just
That's right.
making sure we clarify why we did that.
They cannot be involved in the discussion, and they cannot be part of the vote. So that's all changed, and that's how it is now.
That's a new North Carolina law, right?
Right. Yep.
Yes, sir, it's a general statute. If you serve on the board, you can't vote on a contract matter or a budget matter.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much. So our budget is approved, and you can start on the new one tomorrow, okay? Yes. All right. Number 3, conduct a public hearing, consider adopting a request for Childress Klein Properties. Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved, Mayor.
Motion second, all in favor, raise your hand. Thank you. All right, I have one individual, Jeff Brown, signed up to speak in favor of this. Welcome, Jeff. Come forward.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, members of council, and I may briefly pile on to the comments of a second ago. It's always nice to periodically come over to Concord and work with the staff, and Kevin and Steve, others did a great job, and again, the manager on a unique situation, and we really appreciate Valerie as well in their view. I think Kevin did a great job the other day at the workshop describing a unique situation. Childress Klein owns really more than just 50 acres, which is the parcel that we're really dealing with. The 11 acres in Concord, which is sort of the orphan parcel, goes with a 50-acre parcel that's been zoned for multifamily use. But as you can see from this drawing, it's actually part of a much larger, the former Kings Grant property that was rezoned a year and a half ago for a much bigger development. During that time, the rezoning did contemplate the possibility of coming in and having the Concord 11-acre piece also be part of a multifamily development. Again, the multifamily development, if you're looking at, maybe I have the pointer here, is the portion that's just right behind the Concord Mills Mall. And then you'll see the 11-acre piece is just immediately behind the Concord Mill Mall, where you can see the blue line that separates the county, is the county line. So that's the context of what we have done, and we looked at the developing it under Concord, but as you look at this development plan, it makes so much more sense to have it unified as one development. And by doing so, it allows a better street network, and it has a much more uniform feel, as I think Kevin may have mentioned the other day, at least from our perspective. The good news is the state statute does allow this. We're not asking this would happen a lot, but this is kind of a unique situation, largely because we have an orphan parcel that frankly, I think a lot of us would recognize doesn't make a lot of sense to really be too concerned about it, given the nature of it really fits much more within the Charlotte rezoning and planning. So the statute allows us to take the 11 acres with your consent and the Charlotte City Council's consent to have the planning and development regulations apply uniformly to Charlotte regulations. As I think Kevin emphasized, it doesn't take anything away from taxes or taxation, anything non-related to zoning or development will stay within the Concord auspices of things. So let me see if I can get this. This gives a little bit more detail. As you can see, the first item just kind of was a slide that we used to show how people get in and out of that complex set of roads there. But as you can see, it's a much bigger development that includes the distribution uses that Childress Klein was able to have unanimously rezoned along with the multifamily. If you look in the bottom left-hand corner, you see a little bit of the site plan that we're dealing with on the multifamily piece. You'll also note one of the questions that came up the other day was whether you would have buildings that would straddle the line, and you can see that we've actually taken the blue buildings and we're going to reshape those so that there is no straddling on the line. I mentioned the taxation stays. And I think the main thing that we wanted to kind of come back, because there were some questions that were discussed about the nature of the transportation, and then I'll wrap up because y'all got a busy night, is that there was a lot of transportation work done. And I think Councilman Crawford, you may have mentioned concerns about Quay Road. And you're right, when you drive back there now on Quay Road, it's not much. But as you can see from the next slide, as part of the overall, the much bigger parcel, there was a substantial amount of transportation study work done. Parcels all over.
Okay, can I ask council for a vote to give him additional time?
I'm on my home stretch, I promise you. Thank you.
You got it.
Appreciate it, Mayor. As you can see from this, there was a substantial amount of improvements. We've listed from the traffic study that I did bring, and if anybody wanted to look at it, improvements that related to Quay Road. And if you can see, One of the key improvements is there will be the widening of the travel lanes. Each of the travel lanes will be widened, and there'll be associated improvements as well. And then if you go up to Carolina Lily, there'll be also some improvements there. I'm happy to go into more detail on that, but we want to make you aware that not only will the improvements take place, but they were studied previously really with the idea that it was possible that these would be brought into sort of to the Charlotte planning. So the transportation work has already considered the new units that might be brought to bear if we get the rezoning from Charlotte later. Final thing I'll emphasize, this is to allow Charlotte to consider the rezoning. We start at this process, we will be going to Charlotte to seek the same resolution. We believe will be successful in that regard. And then a zoning of the 11 acres with the remaining 48 acres, almost 50 acres, would take place later in the fall. And we think it will make for a much more unified development. You can see there's transportation connectivity across the county line. And we appreciate your recognizing this unique situation and supporting our effort to do a really better job with the development plan. Thank you.
Thank you very much. While you're there, any question from council? Nothing? Okay.
Miss, I apologize. I was probably studying your map rather than listening to every word you said. So let me apologize to ask this question. Back to Quay Road, and again, you've mentioned it yourself, it's a little bit of an issue. It's going to be widened as I can see, which obviously is repaving. Is that going to be the main in and out? Where's the real traffic?
Thank you, Councilmember. If you look at this map, you'll also see the multifamily is essentially the 50 acres on what we might describe on the Concord Mills side of that area it's not wet, but that's a low creek area, if you see that. Not only will we have 2 access points onto Quay Road, but if you see the other access leaving that multifamily, it will then take you back up to Mallet Creek, and then it will also allow you to go through the business park and be able to go. So there's a variety of different outlets that'll be taking place. There are some improvements. If you see where that little area that's undeveloped up at Quay near Carolina Lily, that has actually been improved with some additional multifamily. And so they're making some improvements already to Quay Road, and we'll be completing that loop. I believe that will be the case.
Or you end up putting
We
down.
would come back in terms of the standards of that street.
Right.
Those would be married up, but we're very confident. We've worked really not too different than what would be happening as a general proposition on a normal circumstance.
Yeah, I'm more concerned about what we are going to inherit and how we're going to take care of it, and based
Gotcha.
on what piece we're getting. You know, to me, it looks like a lot of the eventual down the road costs may be in our pockets with very little on the other side, on the taxation side. What's Philip got to say about that? Nothing?
Well, the developers will be doing those improvements, and then there'll be.
Sure.
Yeah.
Philip?
Council members, just to clarify, Quay Road is NCDOT road, and that
Oh,
will.
it's NCDOT.
Okay. Sorry, my mistake.
Especially because it crosses the jurisdictions like that.
Didn't know that.
That'll remain under NCDOT.
Thank you.
Better. Thank you.
Depends on how you look at it.
Well, that's a good point.
Yeah.
But
Any other questions?
I'm good. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
I have no one else signed up to speak.
I have a question, not for him, but for.
Go ahead.
Kevin, so when I hear Charlotte ordinance, so the standards will be under the Charlotte ordinance. Forgive me, but I think of all the county ordinances that were taken into the city, and then the improvements were, there was a delta, right, between those. I'm assuming that with Charlotte being city and their ordinance, that there's no concerns from Concord as far as that being like a huge gap in the difference of what would be the standards.
Correct. They're gonna be very, very similar. It's not like we're deferring our
County
development
to-
regulations
right.
to a very rural jurisdiction with no design standards or anything like
Okay.
that. The big difference I see is just a very slight difference in allowable density. It's only 3 units an acre difference in.
Which you discussed on
Correct.
Tuesday night. Okay. And just to, second verification, just to, on record, this is not coming from our sewer pot. This is coming from, just wanting to shake a head on Jeff on that. Thank you.
And didn't you say there was a height difference too on things in
There,
Charlotte?
there may be a slight height difference.
And our fire trucks are good on that too?
They will have to meet fire code.
Yep, okay.
More questions? Thank you. All right, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved, Mayor.
Got a motion and a second. All right, back to vote to close. Raise your hand. Thank you very much. Now, back to council for recommendation.
I'll make a motion that we adopt the resolution that's been presented.
Mayor, after hearing everything, I'll second.
Okay, we have motion second. Ready to vote? All in favor, raise your hand. All right, thank you very much. Moving on to our last one, item 5, of course, was tabled until next month, but item 4 is conduct a public hearing, consider adopting an ordinance annexing 3.34 acres. Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved. Second.
Got a motion and second. All in favor, raise your hand. Thank you. Lloyd?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Kevin went over this item with council on Tuesday night. Some council members had questions, and staff answered some of those questions. I think there may be additional questions. Staff is prepared to answer those tonight as council has any of those to pose.
Okay, just for the record, I have no one signed up to speak for or against. Is there anyone to speak in regards to this item? There is no one to speak. Is there any questions that council has? I guess we need to do it while we're still in.
I have one and only one. Mr. Payne sent out an email earlier today that had some issues to this amendment in front of us. But one thing is the road itself, obviously. If the contractors tear it up, I think your note said that the contractor or whomever would be responsible for repairing that. How does that work?
Yeah, and I'll call Philip up to more formally address the technical aspects of this. But yes, with the remaining property, this being the proposed annexation of just the road itself, you know, we would think that in the future, the land itself would be developed, and as such, there would likely be heavy trucks and traffic on that road, and there could possibly be damage to the road. If that occurs, then it's up to Philip and his staff, our staff, to document that damage and then make sure that the contractor, whoever's responsible for that, brings the road back to its previous condition prior to construction. Philip, if I misspoke, please add to.
Absolutely. Just to add, we, our inspectors, our city inspectors, engineering department, transportation, do keep our eyes on these developments and would note those repairs like Mr. Payne said, and that would be held responsible by the developer to complete their driveway permits and so forth, so.
Okay, hold on. Can I jump in?
Sure.
Big difference in a contractor and a developer. Who's responsible? The developer of the property would be the point person?
Yes, ultimately the developer. I'm speaking more along the lines of the contractor on site with the inspector on site is you know, obviously your first communication line.
You're comfortable with that, Philip, and what would y'all are?
Yeah, I mean, we've done
Identify.
that, we've done that before, so it's nothing, it's not like this would be a new situation for us to do that.
Any more questions from
I have
council?
a question, Philip.
Yes, go ahead.
How was the $1,000 increase in the power bill? How is that determined?
That was a good question. Our calculation is based on our annual revenue of Powell bill. 25% of that number is calculated by miles of road. The other 75 is population-based. So that 25% by the size of our city today equates to just under $2,000 a mile as we accept the roads. Again, it's an estimate. As other cities, as it's distributed across the state, obviously that can fluctuate. Certainly we've grown faster, so we typically can expect that. But at this size of road, it was right around $1,000 is what I calculated that to be.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Brian.
Hey, Philip. Yep.
Stay put.
So, well, just a general question, and then I may have a question for Mr. Craver as well, but the the um, the recommendation for the city to do this, can you expound upon that? Is it, just, I know that the staff has recommended that we do this. I just want to kind of hear a little bit more
Sure.
about that rationale.
Sure, absolutely. As the request was made for this road to be maintained by the city, obviously coming into the acceptance there, our department staff as well as stormwater staff met on site with Mr. Craver and discussed what we saw as deficiencies in the road and sidewalk, storm drain system, addressed those in detail with him. He brought in his contractors. We inspected it before, during, after the process throughout this, made sure everybody was comfortable with those repairs, improvements made, and that's where we are today. We're satisfied with the improvements that are made as taking that into our system.
Good. And then just to follow up, the condition of that road you said was good, and I drove there today as well.
Yes, sir.
So you feel very comfortable with the fact that there's not a lot of deferred maintenance to that road, and there's
Correct.
been all the improvements that need to be done there, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Mayor, so to kind of clean up comments that I made Tuesday, I was very concerned about this. My concern was such a small tax base to maintain a road, and you've answered that question, that we can hold the developer responsible. I would still probably oppose this if we didn't have this sewer problem, but to ask all of this property to come in when we don't know if sewer is available seems a little unfair. So I think this is the best we can possibly do to try to help the developer with his property without being closed. So I'm willing, I'm ready to support. You've answered my questions.
Any more questions from council?
And I think that another point to that is that, in speaking to Mr. Craver over the past couple of days, I think because there's individual parcels that are trying to be marketed, a lot of people who are potential buyers of those and projects were uneasy about the fact that it was not maintained by the city. So it's one of those things where we've got a small donut hole that's not been annexed. And I've spoken to Mr. Craver, and I believe that he's a motivated seller. And I don't think this is a situation where he wants to sit on the property indefinitely and just let the road rot. I think this is something that he needs in order to market the property. And I think this is something that, when I first saw it Tuesday too, I was like, no, but then after understanding more extenuating circumstances, and knowing that we have some assurances with our indemnity, and the amount of money the developer has spent to improve that road, I think, I'm going to be supporting this as well, for the annexation. So.
All right. With that said, no one else speaking. Is there a motion to close?
So moved.
A motion second. All in favor, raise your hand. Back to council for a recommendation.
Mayor, I move that we approve this annexation of the 3.34 acres of Amelia Street.
Okay. A motion and a second. Ready to vote. All in favor, raise your hand. All right. Thank you very much. So that's done. Item 5 is going to be in July. So we move to presentations of petitions and requests. Number 1, consider adopting a reimbursement resolution declaring the intent of the city of Concord to reimburse itself.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Jessica discussed this item with council on Tuesday evening. This resolution, the intent of it is for the city to move forward with expenses related to this capital project, and we can reimburse ourselves once the financing takes place.
Thank you. Is there a motion from council? Thank you. Got a motion and a second. Ready to vote. All in favor, raise your hand. Right, thank you. Item number 2, consider authorizing city manager to negotiate and execute a 1-year contract extension, addendum 3 with the town of Harrisburg.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Jeff discussed this item with council on Tuesday evening. This is a 1-year extension request to allow us in the town of Harrisburg to work out a long-term water sale agreement.
Thank you. Is there Got a motion and a second, ready to vote. All in favor, raise your hand. Thank you very much. Item number 3, consider approving a Concord co-sponsorship application, Downtown Concord Arts Council Art Walk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ian discussed this with council, presented it on Tuesday evening. This is a request for co-sponsorship for the Art Walk, which is a usual event for us to partner with the Cabarrus Arts Council on. So ask for your approval for that this evening.
All right, is there a motion from council? We got a motion and a second, ready to vote. All in favor, raise your hand. Thank you. Item 4, consider approving a Concord co-sponsorship application with Juneteenth celebration on June 17th in Caldwell Park.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ian presented this item as well to council. This one is just a little bit different. And by that, I mean the applicant has not, as of the start of this meeting, provided the required certificate of insurance for us to allow this event to take place. So the recommendation from staff, there's 2 options to council. One is to deny this request. The second one is to approve it contingent upon staff receiving the COI, the appropriate COI that's accepted by staff before the event begins on the 17th. So those 2 options, unless there's another option that council may have, that's the 2 options in front of you this evening.
Yeah, I'll make the motion that we approve this contingent upon that condition being met.
Okay, so motion contingent. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, ready to vote. All in favor, raise your hand. Thank you very much. Item 5, consider awarding a bid authorizing city manager to execute a contract with Williams Electric.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Alex went over this item with council on Tuesday evening. This is a construction contract request to Williams Electric Company for installation and maintenance of our infrastructure.
Thank you. Is there a motion from council? Got a motion and a second. Ready to vote. All in favor, raise your hand. Thank you. Item 6, consider authorizing city manager to negotiate and execute a contract with the McAdams for full design services.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sheila went over this item with council on Tuesday evening. This is for the full design services at the David Phillips Activity Center Park area, one of the projects associated with the general obligation bond. The proposed contract would be with McAdams. The amount would be $290,620 for the design.
All right, thank you. Is there a motion from council?
Move to accept.
Got a motion and a second. Ready to vote. All in favor, raise your hand. Thank you. Item 7, consider authorizing city manager to negotiate and execute a contract with Performance Managed Construction.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Rick discussed this item with council on Tuesday evening. This is to repair the area caused by a water pipe breakage that occurred near George Lyles Parkway in the intersection of Roberta Farm. The amount, or the lowest responsible bidder, was Performance Managed Construction, the amount of $486,205.50.
Thank you. Is there a motion from council?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Ready to vote. All in favor, raise your hand. Thank you. Number 8, consider approving a change in the speed limit from 35 to 25 in Allen Mills.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Philip went over this item with council on Tuesday evening. So currently, the speed limit in the Allen Mills neighborhood is the default city speed limit of 35 miles per hour. The neighborhood would like to have that reduced, and they did achieve greater than the 75% required by city policy. So we ask that you allow city staff to move forward and change that speed limit to 25 miles per hour and post the neighborhood accordingly.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion from council? Second. We got a motion and a second. Ready to vote. All in favor, raise your hand. Thank you. Number 9, consider authorizing city manager to negotiate and execute a contract with Rommel, Klepper, and Kahn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Philip also discussed this item with council. This is the project at Poplar Tent Road and Harris Road, the intersection project. So the improvements the engineering services for this project, staff is recommending Rommel, Klepper, and Call. The fixed fee for engineering services would not exceed $201,840.23. The next phase of this design process would come back to council for approval, so you'll see this again.
All right, thank you. Is there a motion from council? Move to approve. I'll second that. We got a motion and a second. Got several seconds here, so we'll take one of them. Kim, you got that? So ready to vote? All in favor, raise your hand. All right, number 10, consider accepting a preliminary application from James. We went through this, didn't we? I can't. From James.
All right, Mr. Mayor, Sue went over this item, and as she stated on Tuesday evening, I'll just refer to the property that's located at 182 Central Heights Drive. There is water and sewer available to the parcel, thus staff is recommending that annexation be required. The property is contiguous to the city limits.
Okay. So right now, is this asking for annexation?
Yes, that is correct. Staff is recommending to
Okay, so
have the owner
this
proceed.
includes annexation. Okay. Is there a second? Second. We got a motion and a second, ready to vote. All in favor, raise your hand. Thank you. All right, consider appointments and reappointments of various city Concord boards and commissions and reappointments to the CDDC Board of Directors. You have looked at that list. It's been worked on by council team and staff, and therefore, is there a motion to approve these?
So moved.
We've got a motion and a second, ready to vote. All in favor?
Mr. Mayor, I
Yes,
just
go
want to say I was fortunate to serve on the committee. We had some really competent people across the board who agreed to serve as volunteers. It's hard work, it's not compensated, but we are very blessed, and we're going to have some strong committees.
I agree with you, sir.
Mayor, I hate to call him out on this, but one of these folks is in the room tonight. His
I
name
think I
is
see
Jim
him.
Hayes. Jim's going to serve on our P and Z Council now as a voting member, so good luck to you, Jim. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for serving.
Thank you, Jim. Yes, that's right, that's right. So it's a great list, a lot of work to get here, and these individuals will really be an asset to our city. So we have a motion and a second, ready to vote. All in favor, raise your hand. Thank you very much. Moving on to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
We got a motion and a second, ready to vote. All in favor, raise your hand. Thank you. All right, as you notice on the consent agenda, there's many items. But that does take us back to matters not on the agenda, so we can talk about, like to have council talk about the various committees they're on and groups. Transportation Advisory Committee, the TAC.
Real quick, the CRP project that we approved in April or endorsed in April for our signal system improvements, TAC unanimously supported that for us. And also on the schedule, a good one, the Eva Road intersection improvements have been let. They don't have any schedule yet, and there's no one working. I went through there today, but the contract is let, so hopefully we'll see that very shortly.
Very good.
That's where Eva and Rock Hill meet? Right.
Yeah.
That's great.
Been dragging 3 years now, so it's great.
All right. The MTC has sort of lost where they're going, so I moved over to the, on the Metro Mayors, we have an intercity rail committee, and I've joined that. More of what makes sense, and we're working hard, part of Connect Beyond. And we've had our first meeting, and we've sort of did an organizational meeting on it. But the intercity just would fit us more to improve the rail service from 4-day to multiples, and so that's what I'm trying to help with. Central Line Regional Council. Concord Kannapolis Transit Commission. LJ, you got anything? Okay, and our next meeting is the 20th of June, yes. Betty, you have anything to add? John? Okay, thank you. Water and Sewer Authority?
We meet next week. Really no updates. We are still working on the percentages per municipality. Understand the urgency of that, and Jeff and I are really trying to get that wrapped up hopefully next meeting and get those agreements in place between each community.
Okay. Very good. We build Concord?
Real quick, we have 8 units, dwelling units across Concord that are in some form of construction. Should be finished in August, September. Different townhomes and homes and different things. We purchased 2 more what we would call naturally occurring, to keep those in the affordable field. I would like to point out that one of those is in Kannapolis. And before everybody's eyes go up, $5 million of our funding came from the county's ARPA funding, and they had asked us if we could do a few things outside of Concord. So I will assure you that what we do will not have any of Concord's funding, either ARPA or taxpayer, or even admin. It'll all be out of the county's money. There was something else that's completely slipped my mind now. Well, the large projects are moving forward. The townhomes on Lincoln Street are in bidding right now. We hope to have a budget by the end of June. So hopefully we can get some construction going on Lincoln Street within the next few months. And the Kerr Street project is moving along very well. And Ginger Moore is doing our architecture there. It's going to be very, very exciting. So that's moving along. So everything's doing great.
Very good, thank you. Public Art Commission?
Just to remind you that we just elected our very first Public Arts Commission, 14 people on that. There's also in the budget, we just approved a $25,000 placeholder so that there's a little bit of money for them to play with. I expect it will take them a good while, a good bit this year, to focus on where they want to go, what they want to do. And so we are now finally off and running with a Public Arts Commission.
Could I ask you to change one word or two words? Play with to invest.
To invest.
Thank you.
Thank
you. Concord United Committee?
No report.
All right, and I have the Mental Health Advisory Board that I represent Concord on, which is very broad across the county and cities. And one thing I want to bring up is that last night we discussed the county is putting a 76-bed/chair public mental health care facility. And it's going to be on, they're in the process of purchasing the ACN building, and they have 5 acres on their part of that purchase, that they'll be building that facility there. So that's a nice central location for us, for the cities. So just wanted to bring that up. Anything else that people like to discuss, bring up? All right. Yes, sir.
Just real quick, I noticed on the consent agenda, it doesn't get a lot of attention. It gets a lot of thought, and we put a lot into it. But I noticed quite a few grants on there. So I encourage staff to keep that up. That looks really good to see that we have a grant, whether it's matching or otherwise, to help us with things we need to do for the city. So Lloyd, good job on steering that. Be the commander of the ship. But yeah, those grants look awesome on there. So thank you, everybody, department heads, et cetera.
Okay. Thank you. Well, it's time for us to have a motion to move into closed session. So everybody else gets to leave except we have to stay. Move that we go into closed session pursuant of NC General Statute 143-318.11A, 3, and 4 in order to consult with the attorney to protect attorney-client privilege and give instruction concerning judicial actions titled City of Concord versus Barbara Scotia College Incorporated, and discuss the location or expansion of industries or other businesses in the area served by the public body. Is there a motion? In a second. Ready to vote? All in favor, raise your hand. And we are in closed session. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day and weekend.